All right, we are now just a month and change away from the midterms, and much of the focus is on Senate and gubernatorial races in several swing states. One of the crucial factors in the election will be the Latino vote, which could be the difference in the outcomes of elections in several states. NBC News and Telemundo out with new polling today with some very interesting insights into the nation's largest minority voting bloc. While Democrats remain the preferred party amongst Latinos nationwide, that number is now down 11% over the last couple of years, 10 years, I should say, with support for Republicans in November elections going up 10%. And what's key to remember here is that the Latino vote is anything but monolithic. Latinos who are female, Catholic, and who live in California support the Democrats significantly higher than male Latinos, non-Catholics, and voters in Florida. Democrats also hoping the abortion issue could swing votes in their favor. Over 70% of Latino voters support a woman's right to choose. 50% trusting the Democratic Party on dealing with the issue. 54% also disapproving of Roe overturn. Overall, cost of living is the top issue for Latino voters, followed by threats to democracy, jobs, and then immigration. So this Hispanic Heritage Month, we have been looking at Latino voting power in some key battleground states. And in a few states, will it have an impact like it will in Nevada, for instance? It's expected to see a nearly 6% jump in Hispanic voter participation this year and could account for close to 20% of the total votes cast. And that is where one of the closest Senate races in the nation is happening right now between incumbent Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto and Trump-backed Republican challenger Adam Laxalt. Despite Democrats' strong track record in the state of Nevada, the latest polling showing that Laxalt is gaining momentum with just weeks to go, with some Republicans saying Nevada could be their best chance at taking the Senate in November. I'm joined now for more on this by Ricardo Torres Cortez, reporter for the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Ricardo, thanks for joining us on this. We appreciate it. When you take a look at Latino support for Democrats, as I mentioned, it has dropped significantly really over the last decade or so. Are we expecting that same trend to continue into the midterms along with the 2024 presidential election?
We are, especially with President Donald Trump, the support between Latinos for Republicans has been increasing, and they at least hope that that will also happen in November.
How much of the shifting in support is due to a lack of outreach, specifically within the Democratic Party to the Latino voters?
Almost 50% of Latinos reached, according to a study, responded that they hadn't heard from either campaign. So right now we're seeing a lot of advertisements in Spanish and a lot of canvassing. The Culinary Union, which represents hospitality workers, it's a political powerhouse that has endorsed Republicans in the past, but is supporting the Democrats this time around, expects to knock on 1 million homes across the state.
You wrote about how the former president basically tapped into many of the Latino voters' conservative values, saying this. Trump's successes amongst Latino voters in 2020 was less about those voters converting from Democrat to Republican, but rather Trump and the Republican Party better mobilizing the conservative element of the Latino community that had traditionally gone untapped. I mean, we're talking about economic issues here, obviously, as we talked about, top of mind for Latino voters. What else? And what can Democrats learn from this?
Like you said, they went after people who weren't involved in the electorate at all. And he had stronger showing because of the economy. This time around, Nevada has some of the highest housing prices, renting prices and gas prices in the country. So the economy is going to come down to it. I think it's just reaching out to them. The Republicans we spoke to told us that there's a lot more excitement than in previous times where they used to see a handful of the same people, Latinos, in Republican events. Now they see several dozen.
And what about abortion rights? How is that going to factor into things?
Both parties, there's a majority that don't support bans on abortion, but I don't think it's going to come down to more of the social issues rather than the economic ones.
Ricardo Torres Cortez, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.